At a time when we're losing our oldest and most precious trees and forests from around the world, I'm curious to understand if and why this matters to all of us. Welcome to the Meaning of Trees podcast. I'm Tom Hill, and it's here that I meet with people from all walks of life to explore the answers to one essential question. What do trees mean to you? We're heading back to Fiji for this mini feature episode. And if you follow Southern Hemisphere rugby, you may have heard of the Fijian Drua rugby union team, whose name and logo takes inspiration from the sophisticated, sacred sea canoes that remain a symbol of power and pride to so many South Pacific people and their heritage today. Drua were Seacraft, whose twin-hull technology was developed and honed over millennia by seafaring tribes and communities whose livelihoods and ways of life were shaped entirely by the vast ocean all around them and the hundreds of islands and archipelagos they would have traded, fought, chartered and coexisted between day to day. It's said that Captain Cook and the early colonial settlers from Europe were in awe at the performance capabilities of the local timber vessels that they encountered, some of which could house and ferry entire villages across the waves safely from place to place. With our current over-reliance on fossil fuels, it could be that looking back in time might offer us some of the sustainable answers that we're looking for as we move forwards. And Na Waqa Drua is a project already set on to that very mission. Nestled between a noisy multi-storey development site and Fiji's National Contemporary Arts Gallery, a team of old and new school engineers and seafarers are reimagining the giant Seacraft of Fijian myth and legend in Fiji's capital city, Suva. I met with Carson Young, who's leading the diverse crew that he's assembled to face into the challenges of combining forgotten and modern wisdom and design. Carson, welcome to the Meaning of Trees podcast. Your project sounds so cool. This mythical craft that you're involved with building. Before we go there though, could you tell me a little bit about what trees mean to you and your life?
For me, it's something that I have a keen interest. We hear about plants communicating with each other, that microbiome in the earth. And the more we think we know, the more we understand that we don't know. And that's the joy or the excitement about living. So there's a deep appreciation for everything living, including the things that we thought didn't have a spirit or are not considered a being. We find that now that vibration, energy means there's more interconnectedness between trees and creatures like us here that share Earth with them.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I guess those kind of associations that you described there actually are something that are woven into the project that you're now leading. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that story? What's happening here and what part do you play and what others have you brought in to help with the amazing goal that you have in mind?
We're building a very, very large double hull canoe. It's actually technically a ship because it's over 25 meters. If it were to be classed, it'd be classed as a super yacht. We plan to use as much timber as we possibly can, mainly to mimic or replicate these great canoes of the past. But at the same time, we are very conscious of the fact that we don't have access to timber like in the past. And so that has meant that we've had to really think carefully about what kind of resources should we harvest to build.
Yeah, because a lot of those species that used to be used to make these crafts are not in plentiful supply anymore because of selective logging. And I guess you're marrying the old world with what's possible now in the new one. And that comes with some slightly different considerations. How many people is this craft going to take, and where do you hope it might go to one day?
The crew that's working on the project have an appetite for blue water sailing. And so right from the outset, we built with a mission to sail around the world. That meant we had to, incorporate all the safety measures that modern day vessels must have. But the build is about try to hold on to the traditional technology, but not necessarily hold on to the material, so to speak. So we are more interested in the performance of these great vessels because that's something that has been slowly turning into a fable, only because literature isn't conclusive on its capabilities, like its payload, how many people it can carry, its speed, how well it can do sailing into the wind. This one should, like a stand-in crew, it should be able to carry 150 or 200 people. In the past, the navigators used a different set of laws. So they understood weather, they predicted weather in their own way. Obviously, there was some calculated risk. But as we, study and research and find out more about what was done, we find that there's a lot of wisdom in their traditional knowledge system, which is very different to the playbook that we use today. We're quite lucky that we can draw on a lot of formulas that mariners or naval architects use. We have the physics books that can explain things, whereas in the past, everything was oral, everything was through experience, refined over thousands of years. And that was in and of itself very, very robust. It's just a different system.
It's clear to me that you've got great respect for those ancient methods and those secrets that have been passed down and often guarded as well, because in times gone by, they would have been used as an advantage in warfare, for example, between different tribes. But to make your vessel successful, I guess you need a little bit of that ancient wisdom and knowledge and know-how. So my question is, how have you brought that into the team here that's designing and constructing this really innovative model that you're creating?
We've had to be a little circumspect in how we unravel this project. What we did not want to do was to be extractive in our quest for information. We believe that the traditional knowledge should always stay with traditional knowledge holders. It's just so happened that some of us have that experience and that willingness to dive into it. That's been the driving force behind the project.
Right next to their workshop, where the innovative craft is being constructed, a traditional Fijian bure and Talanoa space have been installed by Na Waqa Drua's team, where master craftspeople spend the daytime sharing stories and insight into traditional Drua specifics, which have been passed down through generations under the guardianship of particular families that mostly originate from the Lau Island group in the east of Fiji. Tua Sameti is one such elder who at 79 is considered a hive of forgotten knowledge, so much so that he was a key advisor to Disney's Moana illustrators when they were first designing the authentic South Pacific seacraft and wayfaring methods shared in the hit movie. He's been a highly respected right-hand man to Carson and the team.
They represent a whole repository of information that's not in books. And it's up to them to share. What we've done is adopted a principle that, if the tide rises, all the canoe rises. And for us, this means that the project shouldn't just be about the builders. It should be about the whole country, the whole canoe building community. And this is why we've reached out to people like Tosimiti and see whether it might be a question about their legacy or interest in just being part of the project.
Kai Affa is a younger generation blue water wayfarer, also from the Lao region, and he explained to me how South Pacific sailors used ever-present winds close to the water's surface, just like seabirds do, which is why, unlike modern yachts, a low triangular sail is used to power the traditional designs that they're adopting and testing to ensure that they can withstand the increasing level 6 cyclones that the South Pacific region is now experiencing with climate change.
Our ancestors were not worried about their canoes being low on the water. No. They know once they raise the sail up, the canoe is gonna, just like the airplane wings, they lift it up, and then drives it forward. And our sail too are driven not by the vacuum in front of it, but by a wind turbine system. Even though it's just a half sail that we see, if you see it in the computer model, that thing is like a consistent whirlwind, circulating, and then brings us energy to the mill by opening it up. And when our sail is about to reach those edges, they close it up a little bit again. Why? It has to force that energy to explode out. So our thrust is nearly the same thing as the same force used by those rockets being up to the moon, like same kind of energy.
It's exciting because we've come to really understand this enigma, the Drua here in Fiji, the Wangan Drua, or in Tonga they call it the Kalia, in Samoa the Alia. We're very, very excited about just understanding the beauty, the science behind this very, very old technology.
A stone's throw away from the Na Waqa Drua project base, there lives a tree thought to be Fiji's most famous. It's a relic of a forgotten shoreline that has since been surrounded by reclaimed land and development, and the tree sits at the site where British colonial power was officially sanctioned over the land in 1874, as a monument nearby signifies. It's for this reason and its wider symbolism that the tree was saved from removal in a campaign that Carson was a vocal part of in 2016. He's going to tell us a bit more about that story.
That's a very significant tree in the whole landscape of Suva and the country, because everyone knows about that iwi tree. Obviously, it was encased in concrete, and that didn't really help with its health. It was also a spot where a lot of people would gather, and at one point, a lot of trash was tucked into the trunk, and it did catch fire at one point. So when the hurricane came, it wasn't hard to see the damage that was inflicted on that tree. But we're happy it's still around. Some other significant things about the tree is that used to be the shoreline of very, very old Suva. Yeah, it's dear to a lot of people. I would imagine that tree have seen, hundreds, if not thousands of Drua pass by. That's an image that the entire country would die for, just to see that on our horizon.
Thank you so much, Carson. I'd like you to leave our listeners with one final thought, and I'm looking forward to seeing your vessel set sail when it's ready.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom. Look, the Drua build is about looking into the past to navigate into the future. It's about understanding our past and therefore understanding ourselves. It's about a very important artifact to people of Oceania. We hope that this will be a small part of a canoe renaissance in the South.
You've been listening to the Meaning of Trees podcast. subscribe. And see you next time.